I found a letter that was never supposed to be opened. It was addressed to no one, written by a dead woman, and it changed everything I thought I knew about regret.
My name is Maya Chen. I organize estate sales for people who died alone. I'm the person who shows up after someone's gone, after the relatives have taken what they want, or when there are no relatives at all. I sort through the wreckage of lives that ended quietly in empty houses with no one there to hold their hand. Depressing? Maybe, but here's what I've learned. The things people leave behind tell the truth, not the curated version they showed the world, the real truth. And the truth I found at 47 Maple Street kept me awake for weeks. Eleanor Whitmore, 91 years old, died in her sleep on a Sunday morning. The neighbors didn't realize she was gone until the mail started piling up. No children, no husband, he'd been dead for 40 years, no relatives the lawyer could track down, just a house frozen in time and a photograph turned face down on the mantelpiece. That should have been my first clue. I arrived on a Tuesday morning in late October, the kind of day where the fog doesn't quite lift and everything feels suspended between the seasons. The kind of day where you believe in ghosts. The house smelled like old books and lavender. Dust particles floated in the thin light coming through yellowed curtains. It was exactly what you'd expect. Floral wallpaper, dated furniture, photographs in ornate frames. But it was also meticulous. Everything had its place. The books were alphabetized. The silverware drawer was perfectly organized. Even the closets were color-coordinated. Eleanor Whitmore had been a woman of order. I started in the living room, as I always do, taking photos, making lists, noting anything of value. A grandfather clock that had stopped at 3:47, a record player with a stack of jazz albums beside it, a reading chair positioned perfectly by the window, with a bookmark still holding a place in a mystery novel. Then I noticed something odd. On the mantelpiece, among the usual collection of decorative plates and candlesticks, there was a photograph, but not like the others. This one was face down. I picked it up. It showed a young woman, Eleanor, I assumed, maybe in her late 20s. She was standing beside a man in a military uniform. They weren't touching, but the way they looked at each other, you could feel it through the decades. The photo was dated on the back, June 1957. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was the letter tucked behind the photograph. It was sealed, never opened. The envelope was addressed in careful handwriting. To whoever finds this house empty. I sat down in Eleanor's reading chair and I opened the letter.
Dear stranger, if you're reading this, then I've died, and no one who knew me came to claim my things. That's all right. I expected it. In fact, I planned for it. My name is Eleanor Whitmore, and I want to tell you about the man in the photograph. His name was James Reed, and he was the love of my life. We met in the spring of 1956 at a library fundraiser. I was 26 and thought I had my whole life figured out. I was engaged to a perfectly nice man named Robert, a banker, stable, safe, everything a woman was supposed to want in 1956. But James was different. He was kind in a way that most people aren't. Not showy about it, just genuinely interested in other people. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. He noticed things. When I mentioned I loved stargazing, he borrowed a telescope and spent weeks learning the constellations just so we could talk about them. We fell in love, deeply, the kind of love that changes who you are. But there was a problem. James was being deployed to Korea, and I was engaged. And this was 1956, not 2020 or whenever you're reading this. Women didn't just break engagements. Families didn't just understand. The night before he left, James asked me to come with him, not to Korea, of course, but to wait for him, to break my engagement and wait for him to come home. I said no.
I sat there in that silent house, holding a 60-year-old letter from a woman who'd spent her entire life in these rooms, and I felt my throat tighten. The letter continued.
I told myself I was being practical, that James might not come back, that Robert was the sensible choice, that my parents would be devastated, that I couldn't shame my family by breaking an engagement 3 months before the wedding. So I married Robert in August of 1957. And James did come back from Korea. I heard about it through mutual friends. He came back in 1959, hoping to find me, but I was married by then. I want you to know that Robert wasn't a bad man. He was decent. He provided well. We had a comfortable life together. He died in 1984 of a heart attack. But I never loved him, not the way I loved James, not even close. And James never married. I found that out years later too. He became a teacher, lived a quiet life in Vermont, died in 2003. We never spoke again after that night in 1957. Here's what I want to tell you, stranger. Here's why I'm writing this letter to someone I'll never meet. I made a choice out of fear, and I don't want you to do the same.
I had to stop reading for a moment. The weight of what I was holding, this confession, this regret, this message in a bottle sent across time, it was almost too much.
They tell you to be practical, to think with your head, to consider your responsibilities. And those aren't bad things to consider. But fear isn't wisdom. Fear disguised as practicality is still just fear. I spent 63 years in this house. Many of them were fine. Some were even pleasant. I had friends, hobbies, a nice garden. I volunteered at the library. I read thousands of books. I watched the world change through that window. But every single day, every single one, I thought about James. I thought about what we could have had. I thought about the conversations we would have shared, the children we might have raised, the life we would have built together. Even the hard parts, I wanted those too. I wanted to struggle together, to figure things out together, to grow old together. Instead, I grew old alone. Even when Robert was alive, I was alone. Here's what I learned too late. The things you don't do haunt you more than the things you do. The risks you don't take become the regrets you carry. The love you walk away from doesn't fade. It follows you into every room of your life and sits in every empty chair. People will tell you there's always time, but stranger, there isn't. There really isn't. If you love someone, tell them. If you want something, reach for it. If you have a choice between fear and courage, choose courage. Even if it ends badly, even if it doesn't work out, even if people judge you. Because let me tell you what's worse than failure, worse than embarrassment, worse than whatever you're afraid of. It's lying in a hospital bed at 91, waiting to die, and realizing that you never really lived at all. I'm leaving this letter here because I hope someone finds it. Someone who's standing at their own crossroads. Someone who's about to choose the safe thing over the true thing. Don't be me, stranger. Don't spend 60 years in a house that's perfectly organized but completely empty. Choose love. Choose risk. Choose life. Even if it scares you, especially if it scares you. With hope for your happiness, Eleanor Whitmore.
I sat in that chair for a long time after I finished reading. The afternoon light was fading, casting long shadows across Eleanor's perfectly ordered life. I thought about my own crossroads, about the job offer I'd turned down because it meant moving across the country, about the person I'd stopped texting because it felt too complicated, about all the ways I'd been choosing safety over possibility. I took out my phone. I called the number of someone I'd been too afraid to call for 6 months. My hands were shaking, but I did it anyway. They answered on the third ring. I don't know how my story ends. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But at least I'm writing it now, instead of spending decades wondering what it might have said.
The house at 47 Maple Street was sold 2 months later. Everything was auctioned off or donated. The new owners repainted, updated, filled it with noise and life and children. But I kept Eleanor's letter. Sometimes, late at night, I take it out and read it again. A reminder from a woman I never met who lived a life she didn't want, so that maybe, just maybe, someone else wouldn't have to. They say every house has a story, but some houses have lessons, and some lessons come just in time.